Present.
Jack Cadenhead,
Present.
Amy Cole-Glazier,
Present.
Claudia Willis,
Present.
Mickey Upton.
Present.
Item number 3, consent agenda. All of the following items which concern reports and items of a routine nature normally approved at board meetings will be approved by one vote unless any member wishes to consider an item separately. The consent agenda consists of the discussion, consideration, and approval of the following items. A, the minutes of the March 9th, 2015 meeting, and the minutes of the March 24th, 2015 special meeting. B, financial reports, 1, activity accounts, 2, treasurer's report. C, encumbrances and changes as follows. 1, general fund, fiscal year 15, item number 1011 through 1760, and item number 50,003 through 50,261. 2, the building bond fund, fiscal year 15, number 1. 3, child nutrition fund, fiscal year 15, number 50,019. D, fundraisers. E, resignations. 1, Gail Goforth, resignation agreement.
And F, we don't want to do.
And we are removing item F, which was a contract for Protop cleaning, off of this agenda.
We'll
revisit
do that next month. We want to make a few adjustments to it.
Okay, we'll revisit that next month.
I've got a couple of questions on C and D. If so, if we want to.
Sure.
Okay, you want to ask them now, or you want me to?
No,
make
go
a
ahead.
motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
On C, I just got a couple of questions on the encumbrances. I already asked you about one of them, the
Right.
BG appraisal.
Yeah.
The Stephen L. Smith, the 31790, is that just some expenses?
That was a publication in the paper.
Okay.
That we could have paid that, or he could have paid it, either one. And
Okay.
we actually got a bill from the producer for the same amount, but they'd already sent it to them. And so they paid it, so we paid them.
Okay. And then 1737, the structural or engineer blanket PO, what does that mean?
Well, we wasn't sure exactly how much it would cost to have him do it, so we went ahead and did $2,000, and the bill we got from him actually was $1,000.
Okay.
So it was half of what we'd put down for.
And then the elevator inspections, have those been done yet? The
I don't remember, Ed.
Northwood High School?
Where is it? Yes, they have.
Are we
Okay.
good there?
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, that's something we do every year. By law, we have those inspected every year.
Okay.
So,
And then on fundraisers, you and I talked about this,
Mhm.
the 4-H fundraiser, what,
I don't know that's necessary because you're not actually going to be using the students for raising funds, but we can do that in July. So I've moved
Okay.
that to the July board meeting because we don't like to approve a fundraiser in one fiscal year that's going to be the next fiscal year. So,
Okay.
and I talked with Ann and I
So-
put that in there to do in July.
but it is okay for us to start getting sponsors?
Yes,
Okay.
because you're doing, the sponsors are doing that, right, instead of the kids. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, good. I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I have a couple of questions I'd like to
A
ask.
through E, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Also under the encumbrances. We got new garage doors from Winter Garage, Winter Door.
Well,
Shine.
what we've been doing is going into each of the sites and trying to make them as secure as we possibly can. And so what we've done in several of the places is and I don't want to say too much because we don't really want to give our plans out to the whole world as to what we do in certain situations, but we're trying to make really secure locations in every one of our buildings where we can get a lot of students where there's no windows, where we can have them completely secure, where people couldn't get to them no matter what. In most situations in a classroom, we have windows, we have glass and doors. If somebody wants to get in, they can, but we're trying to locate places in each of our buildings and structure it to where we can get the kids in there, lock them down, and be assured that nobody can get to them.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the other one was, we bought some defibrillators.
Yes, I was going to talk about that on my administrative report.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
So we got 9 defibrillators. Do we have a school nurse?
No, we don't. We don't.
Who's going to use that?
Well, we're going to train everybody to use those. They're pretty simple to use, but we've just been hearing a lot about students that their lives have been saved or could have been saved if they had a defibrillator like that. And so we're going to train all of our teachers and staff in the use of that. We're going to put one at each site, put one in the gym, going to put one also at the stadium, and we're going to have one we can take with us to events as well. Yeah. Just think it's that important, because we wouldn't want to lose a student over something that we could have purchased and we didn't. So,
Okay, thank you.
I would amend my motion to approve items A through E of the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Mickey Upton,
Yes.
Amy Cole-Clasher,
Yes.
Kay Levy,
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Item number 4, introduction of guests and public discussion by those who requested audience. Mr. Caldwell.
Get up here so I can lean on this. Basically, these are some ideas that occurred to me before I read all the stuff in paper. And one, if we want to build a high school, and I think we need one, I think it should be across the street on Gordon Boulevard from where you park the buses. The reason for that is the geology of the situation. There's not much, I don't want to use a technical term, but the dirt's not very deep, and under that you'll probably want to find some sandstone that's about 5 to 6 feet, which would make a good base to build the school. And the other thing was to look into the feasibility of a person who's going to draw up the plans for the school that y'all are outlaying from an architectural engineer out of OU or OSU. Now, my reason for that is at fault. They may be a lot less inclined to, when the builder comes and says, well, we can do this, and it won't make any difference. They may want to stay with the plans that y'all have designed. And if we're going to build a school, I want to be there after I'm long gone, which is not going to be long. He should submit his bid and what he would expect as a fee. And that's y'all's problem, not mine. And let's see if I can read this. I would consider all right. The next one that I said, arm to not get long enough. I would like for the board and their all right. What I think y'all should do is bite the bullet on tearing down the school. I think we're just wasting money if we try to continue to maintain that facility. That could be money better spent someplace else. It's an old building, and it served its purpose, and that's just my view. Secondly, in its place, I would suggest that you make a parking lot for the sports fans that come to see the football games and the basketball games. Right now, I suspect they're parked all over that end of town, and at least you'd have them gathered up in one place. And if there isn't a code of conduct for the school, and there surely must, you should develop one. And the purpose of that, if you had to make a decision about the behavior of a student, I would hope that you would have something that say, well, this is what our code of conduct says to protect you from litigation, or at least start that. And I also would suggest that you put videos with sound in each room. That way to protect, so if y'all say, well, teacher said, well, he did this, and you said, well, I didn't do that, that you have a record of it. protect the teachers. Because if I say something and you say something, then who's they gonna believe? There's some of these, a few students in the school, in every school, that are disruptive. And you can't have class if you have these students interfering with the teacher teaching and drawing attention away from the classroom studies for them to provide an atmosphere for learning. And there might be two ways to handle that. I would, from my background,
Mr. Caldwell, excuse me, it's me
Yeah.
speaking. We actually have 3 minutes to speak,
All right.
and I've given you a couple of extra ones, but if you don't mind wrapping that up, I'd
all right,
appreciate
I'll
it.
wrap it up. This is gonna be y'all's decision, not mine. I hope these might help out in you making a decision, but whatever decision you make is gonna be yours. But you're gonna have to live with it, not me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 5, administrative report.
Yes. Trying to keep mine brief and trying to keep from stealing anyone's thunder either, because we haven't had this before. We've had all the principals reporting, and Mr. Lemmy's going to report as well, so I'm trying not to talk about anything that they might. One is the Awards of Excellence banquet is scheduled for May 14th, and that's at the Haney Center at 7 p.m. And for those of you that don't know, that's a banquet where we honor our top students and our board members that are actively involved in that, and it's a really, really nice setting, and I think you'll enjoy that. Item 2, we decided to purchase defibrillators. And so
Really?
Yes, yes.
What a good idea.
Pretty good idea, huh? Then item number 4, Mr. Lemon's going to talk about. Item 5, Mickey and I visited a little bit Thursday evening, and one of the things that he brought up was about some of the curricular things that we do, and it made me realize that we've been so focused on facilities the last few months that, and pretty much almost since we've been televising our meetings, that we really probably haven't talked about those things nearly as much, and so I didn't really have a chance to tell our principals to focus on that yet, but I think that it'd be a really good idea for them to really focus on those areas, because we have a lot of really exciting things that we do at each of our sites, a lot of great data that we use, and Mickey really enjoys the data part of it. And so even though some of you have seen some of the things that we'll be doing in the next few months, we want to do it again to kind of showcase some of the things that we're doing and allow the public to be aware of it as well. So that's something we'll do in the future. And another thing that we talked about, and we've talked about this a couple of times now, and he and I are really would like to see us reach the point where we can stream a lot of our school activities and also maybe get them onto our Cablevision Channel 23. And we've tried to kind of do this in the past, and we've had limited success in doing that. But maybe with his help and his expertise in those areas, we can do that, because I'd really like to be able to have a lot of the things that we do broadcast on TV and also to be streamed. And so I think that's pretty exciting moving forward, and I appreciate Mickey's help with that. Then also, the last thing I'll say before I turn it over to our other administrators is that I met with Kevin and Carol O'Daniel on April 7th, and they kind of showed the properties to them that we're interested in having appraisals on. They're putting together a proposal on that, and then they'll proceed with that, and we'll get that report back as soon as they do.
We can talk about this another time. Might need an agenda item. We talked a while back about the Department of Agriculture, Oklahoma City Public Schools. They qualified for that program through the Department of Agriculture for all their students get free lunches.
Yes, I've told Judy to pursue that.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. I'd also like to mention, emailed you this weekend, the Seminole County Bar Association, we did our annual essay contest for middle school, and then also we give a scholarship to a senior, and the questions were not easy this year, much harder than they have been in the past. And I just wanted to mention our senior scholarship recipient will be Stephanie Johnson, receive a $500 scholarship from the Seminole County Bar Association, and Lana Reynolds presented at the bar luncheon, and she'll have an opportunity to meet Chief Justice and whatnot. That question was compare and contrast the principles in the Magna Carta to those found in the United States Constitution. And because this year's theme is Foundations of the Law. And then the middle school essay contest, the winner receives a $100 gift certificate to Hibbett Sports. And that winner was Abby Carter. And the question was, they had to write an essay. This was for the whole county, by the way. What principles from the Magna Carta are also present in the United States Constitution? Not easy questions. Magna Carta is kind of a obscure subject nowadays.
Yeah.
But both were very good.
Very good,
Yeah.
excellent.
And I mean, I am always happy, obviously, that Seminole students won last year.
Yeah.
Seminole students won both classes as well.
That's very good. And I really appreciate the help that you've given us to that, because we do a lot more with Law Day since with your focus on it. And Zach as well. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. And that's very apropos that Magna Carta would be the focus since in Runnymede in 1215.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good year for it. So.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. Well, okay. If that is all, we'll have item number 6, Principal's Report.
Good evening. I'm Angela Wilmot, the principal at Betty L. Smith Early Childhood Center. It was interesting that you wanted to hear more about curriculum, because that's what I wanted to focus on our BLS report tonight. Because one of the things that we've done this year at BLS is to adopt a new reading curriculum and a new math curriculum. The rigor of our reading curriculum is significantly, it's much, much higher rigor. For example, last year with our reading curriculum, the kindergartners were expected to know about 21, 23 sight words. With this new curriculum, it's in the 80s. It's 83 to 85 sight words that they need to leave kindergarten with. And not only that, is we're expecting them not just to read by the end of kindergarten, but to read well. So taking this opportunity to brag on my teachers and staff is a wonderful thing, because I am so proud of how well they've done in meeting the challenge of this more rigorous curriculum. And so believing that we teach high, that we absolutely have high expectations and we teach high, and then we go in and differentiate and help those that are struggling with intervention, and that's going great as well. We're seeing that kids that where we are at this time of the year, I am so excited how they're going to do in the first grade. One of the things that is coming up is NWEA testing. That starts April 27th. We're looking forward to those results as well, because we see that intervention is going so well, we know we're going to have great gains. We had fun at the egg hunt. Pre-K has an egg hunt every year. If you ever are having a really bad day, the place to come is BLS, because you will leave happier and better, I guarantee it. I've always said I have the best job in the world, and I really mean that I do, and it's the students and the teachers that make it that way. One of the things that we got to do last month is we went to the Shawnee Municipal Auditorium, and we went and saw the live production of Beauty and the Beast. You know, and one of the things that made that so much fun is so many of our students didn't even know what a play was. To get to tell them in class and teach them, and it's part of our curriculum too, and it just happened that week we were studying about a play. Then we get to go see the live play and to see their eyes open up with excitement at the dramatic and intense parts. It was the highlight of our month. In fact, it was the highlight of our year, and we cannot wait to go next year. I could sit and talk all day and tell you all the things that we're doing at BLS, because I couldn't be more proud. But I'll go ahead and turn it over to Ms. Cheatwood to hear about Wilson.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. And as you guys all know, the month of April proves to be the state testing month in Oklahoma schools. We have been extremely busy at Wilson preparing students, materials, and schedules for our third grade math and reading test. We will begin tomorrow with the reading portion of the test. We'll take part 1 tomorrow and part 2 on Wednesday, and then next Tuesday and Wednesday we will be taking the math portion. As Ms. Wilmot stated, we will also begin our end-of-the-year NWEA testing at the end of this month, and we will dive into the data and start preparing and aligning our curriculum accordingly for next school year. Ms. Wilmot also touched on the kindergarten reading curriculum. Our plan was to implement this reading program on the kindergarten level this year and then scaffold on to the curriculum on through the primary grades, one grade at a time, because of the rigor. And I am very happy to report that not only has our curriculum been ordered, but we have already received it. And the first grade teachers are ecstatic. They are so happy. They are already digging in and becoming familiar, and they're looking forward to preparing and mapping the curriculum and attending a training on that before school starts next year. At an earlier board meeting, Mr. Pritchard reported that Wilson teachers have had many projects funded through Donor's Choice, and currently Wilson has received over $22,000 in classroom resources, and it varies from book sets to wiggle seats, rugs, bean bags, mini iPads, Chromebooks. The Oklahoma Public Resource Center is offering 50% off for member projects. So if other donors will fund the rest of the project, and since we're a member of that, it's really created an awesome opportunity for us. Mrs. Angie Parks took her third grade silo students to the 26th Annual Invention Convention at Rhodes State College recently. The students had some very impressive inventions. Nicholas Widener won second place in $30. Chance Stark, Evan Howe, and Jay Stewart received honorable mention and also won $10 each. And then Mrs. Parks also won $30 for having a student place second. The convention provides a way for students to use their math, science, and critical thinking skills to create inventions that are designed to help our society. We have a couple of field trips scheduled for later this month. First grade will be taking a trip to the OKC Zoo on April the 28th, and second grade will be going to the Reader's Theater on April the 29th. And last but not least, our first grade class will have their spring music program this Friday at 10 a.m. Any questions?
What's a wiggle seat?
For kids that have sensory issues and things like that, and then, the ones that just can't sit still, and it just kind of gives them a little bit of texture and a little bit of room for movement and stuff like that.
He's one of those.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see everybody. I'll follow up on Mrs. Cheatwood's statement that testing begins for Northwood tomorrow. Our students are prepared. I'm very confident that they're going to do well, and they're excited to get started. We've been talking about this for months. I actually did a session with each of the classes in the library to explain to them what the raw score meant for their score, and talked about that, and then did a goal setting for each of them where they set a goal on what they would achieve for their raw score for this year. We know that when students set goals for themselves, that's a high yield strategy. So they have their little strips that have their goals for reading and math, and they're ready to get going. Just keep them in your thoughts, the teachers and the students, for the next 3 weeks, because Northwood will be hooked up for 3 weeks of testing. Every 2 months, we do an attendance challenge to make sure that our students are not only at school every day, because we need them at school every day so that they learn the best, but to also instill that lifelong lesson and that skill of, I got to be at work every single day. We had a payoff today for the one that was for February and March, the girls versus the boys, and the girls just barely edged out the boys for the best attendance rate for February and March, and they were treated to ice cream sundaes this afternoon. It was a lot of fun. The boys were pretty disappointed. We had sprinkles and everything. The end of the year brings a lot of activities for us as well. We try to hold off many of those field trips until testing is over. Fourth grade will go to see Peter Simon at SSC on April 28th, and that's thanks to Seminole State College for letting us come and watch that for free. The rest of the building will be testing, so fourth grade gets to take advantage of that. Our Principal's Reading Challenge, which is for accelerated reader payoff points, that will be on May the 4th. They're going to the Laser Zone. We have 178 students that qualified to go to Laser Zone. They met or exceeded their goal. Fourth grade will go to the zoo on May the 5th, and fifth grade is going to St. Crispin's again on May the 6th. We did that last year for the first time with our 5th graders. Was a really fun experience for them. They got to be involved in several different stations and did a little hiking, rope climbing, archery, a hay ride. They cooked out for us. It's a wonderful, wonderful facility. Our 6th graders, which will be next year's 7th graders, are going to be enrolling for middle school on May the 7th. We're going to have a parent session from 5:30 to 6:30 that will allow the parents and the students to meet Mrs. Cummins and Mr. Dean, meet their new friends at middle school. 6th grade will get to go to the Science Museum on May the 12th. That is a free field trip for them because the teachers attend OERB training every year, and because of that, they get to go to the museum for free. It even pays for our bus expense. We'll have a meeting for our parents and students who are attending Camp Goddard. We've already had one of those, but we have another one in the spring for parents that maybe missed out. That's May the 5th at 6 o'clock. We've added our menu to the Northwood website. Many people don't get the newspaper, and we've had some issues with them not receiving our fax. So we have added that to our Northwood website. Thank you to Mr. Cobb for helping me set that up. And hopefully that will help parents be more prepared about what the meals are for the upcoming week. We also had our gifted and talented students participate and compete at the Oklahoma Student Inventors Expo last month. Dalen Saxon and Grady Mercer created a temp hat, which is a hat that either heats or cools your head based on the temperature. Kylie Haas and Maggie Bevenu, who received an honorable mention, developed a handy crutch, which is a bag that goes on your crutch and helps you carry your things. And then Kylie Bryan created a feet up invention for children that are in a car seat in the back seat, and it helps give them a place for their feet to rest without kicking mom and dad in the back of the seat. Really, really very good inventions, yeah. 5th grade special education teacher, Mr. Brian Johnson, received word that he's been selected to attend the Colonial Williamsburg Institute this summer for a week. It's been a while since we've had a teacher apply for that. This is a real honor and an outstanding opportunity for him. He is very excited. And finally, our Northwood band will travel to the annual Arbuckle competition on April 30th. Mr. D.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Always enjoy the opportunity to address the board. I want to visit a little bit about the things we have going on at the middle school. And it's springtime, and right now the all spring sports are in full swing. We currently have students participating in golf, tennis, baseball, and track. On the academic side, as we've heard, we start testing tomorrow out at Seminole State College. Our 7th grade geography students will start tomorrow, and we will test until May the 5th, where we will end with our Algebra 1 students taking the end of instruction test. I want to congratulate Abby Carter, our 8th grade student, who won the Law Day Essay Contest. I believe all students from Seminole County, well, a number of students from Seminole County participated in that, so it wasn't just Seminole schools, that was Seminole County. Also, at the end of this month, we will be having a Law Day Assembly at the middle school. Also want to recognize the SMS Students of the Month for April. Our Students of the Month for 7th grade were Taryn Bost and Elijah Lay, and our 8th grade students are Dustin Scott and Maddie Foster. When I was trying to put together what I was going to put in this report, I thought about some of the things that we have lots of things going on at the middle school. Some things get more publicity than other things. There were a couple of things that jumped out at me that seemed to get less publicity than other things, and I wanted to mention those tonight. This year, Seminole Middle School started a program called Chieftain Robotics, and it is open to middle school students, and what these students do is they build robots for competition, and they compete twice throughout the year. The spring competition was canceled, but the fall competition we participated in with Ford and Cooper Technology Center. And what the students do, it's an after-school program, and they come 2 days a week on their own after school, and they build these robots to perform certain tasks. And in the competition, they have to complete 6 tasks. Well, our robot completed 4 of the 6 tasks, and it was a very good learning experience for them. Like I said, the spring competition was canceled. We have about 15 or so students that come 2 days a week, stay after school to participate in that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was this year, every other year, Seminole Public School or Seminole Middle School hosts a winter formal. And Mrs. Irick puts that winter formal on. This year, and probably in the past, but specifically this year, she had heard there were some students that were not planning on to attend the winter formal because they didn't have a formal dress or dressy clothes. So Mrs. Irick, who's a sponsor, student council sponsor, came up with the idea, and this is run by the student council. They call it Cinderella's Closet, where people come and they donate dresses to the student council. And students from the middle school, and now students from the high school, and now students from all over the county come to the middle school and borrow dresses for prom in return. So that was just some of the awesome things that we have going on at the middle school, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the board about it.
Thank you.
I should have mentioned, I do want to thank Miss Irick on the law day, SA Middle School SA. She kind of, we had stuff going on. She had to step up and kind of coordinate that for the middle school, and we appreciated her.
Well, good evening. I'm Mr. Osborne. I'm the high school principal. And I thought quite a bit about this report. Just thought I'd hit on all areas because we do a lot in the high school.
Busy.
We started testing today. 21 days of it left. SHS competed in the DJ's annual shootout. Took 6 archers and 4 trap team members. Did pretty well. Do not have the final results of that as of yet. 2 Seminole FFA members competed at the Oklahoma Youth Expo over spring break. They were showing Brangus and Seminole heifers. We held the Mr. SHS pageant. Raised about $2,600 to help one of our students with some medical bills. And, that was a good thing. Nick Garrett won Mr. SHS. That prom thing dinner went off, was a success. Raised plenty of money to hold that prom thing, which, as you know, is the after prom. Keeps several of our students safe. All right. I'd like to thank Ms. Wilcox, Ms. Perry, Ms. Richardson, Ron Osborne, Mr. Rigney. They all volunteered to help me 2 evenings meet with all the 8th grade parents individually, pre-enrolled the 8th graders for high school next year, got all their forms signed, ready to go. It was good to meet with them personally. A lot of parents talked about how well they did like that. Along with that, all high school students have been pre-enrolled for the 15-16 school year. The master schedule's built and loaded. Took a lot of work from our counselors and our teachers, but it's finished and ready to go. SHS High School Baseball won conference champs the other day. And at Seminole, we had a high school student set a new school record at the conference track meet for throwing the shot. 44 feet, 10 inches. That was Leah Knighton. Leah's quite a girl if you don't know her. Anyway, that's about all I have for tonight.
And that was with her left hand.
Yeah, she took it easy on her with that one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 7, Facilities and Operations Report. Mr. Lemmings.
Good evening.
Good evening.
A couple of things. I'd like to clean up the AEDs that we purchased. I wanted to say that the fire department / ambulance service has agreed to come to all the sites if necessary and do training to teachers and principals. Make sure that everybody's familiar with those and comfortable with them. Like Mr. Pritchard said, they're very simple to operate, 3-step process, so it won't be a big deal, but everybody will be certified.
And they're probably the type of devices that will not turn on unless the device itself first detects
That's correct.
the level of need on the individual.
It is automatic.
So it's
Yeah, it's
not like
automatic.
I could panic and
Right.
use it incorrectly on someone and send a charge to them. It would have to recognize the
Right.
need. Right. So
That's exactly right. But I want to say I appreciate their efforts in coming and training us, so that's a big deal. For your benefit, Mr. Upton, we have some software that Mr. Pritchard purchased for us at the first of the year called School Dude. And I want to say it's been very, very beneficial throughout the year for our teachers and our principals to turn in any maintenance request down to the janitors. The janitors can turn those in. Anybody who has an email address through the school can turn those in. It's been very helpful to us. I think it's sped up the process dramatically in taking care of our maintenance issues. And today, I think our final number, we got 531 maintenance requests on the year, and we have 11 currently that have not been completed.
Wow.
So
that's good stuff.
I'm pretty proud of that. I will say we did find a lot of water leaks today. I may not have all those requests yet. Just I want to say that our principals and all of our administration are absolutely fantastic to work with. They're very patient, and they're very good about helping get the teachers involved in those maintenance things, and they're very aware of what's going on at each one of their sites, so that's been helpful too. I tried to get you some numbers. We talked last time about sprinklers, fire alarms at 2 of the sites, Wilson and Northwood. Tried to get you some numbers together. We had 3 different sprinkler companies come to town and work with us on some numbers. I think I can safely say, I know they didn't try to pin the numbers down to the penny because they don't want to give away their bids. So if we choose to do that, I think we could safely say that Northwood is going to be somewhere around $200,000, Wilson at $150,000. That does not include upgrading the fire alarm systems, which we will have to do at somewhere around $20,000 each.
Each
And
site?
Each site. It does not include getting the fire line to the building. The riser will be taken care of by the sprinkler company, but getting the line from the city's main to our buildings is not included. Typically, the city will work with us on that and help us do that, and I don't think it will be terribly expensive, but we need to build some contingency in for that. I would say somewhere around less than $10,000 per site. I think I will have some more information for you next time about janitorial and transportation. We're working on some numbers on transportation. I think that will be helpful to you, but I'm not ready to throw them out there yet. So I'll try to get that to you next time. I wanted to say, too, that Officer Williams is doing a great job. If you've not been up there and seen the job that he's doing and the way he works with the principals, I'm so proud of him. He's the easiest guy in the world to supervise. He's fantastic. And just wanted to give a shout out to him. He's doing a great job. Are there any questions?
I saw in the encumbrances that there was a Northwood bathroom tiles. That's already been done?
No.
That's coming? Okay.
Right. We do have our bids in on that, our quote.
That'll start right after school's out, maybe? Is that
Yes.
kind of the plan for that? Good idea. Okay.
On the sprinkler projects,
Yes,
is
ma'am.
there any type of economy of scale if if we were to say we wanted to attempt both of these projects in one summer? Is that too ambitious? Would it make more sense to say one summer, another the next summer?
I think so. I think one at a time. Yeah.
Well, one of the factors is with summer school.
Uh-huh.
Because we can have it at one site, but if we're doing it at both sites with the sprinkler system, because it's pretty extensive, it'd be a little difficult. It'd be nice to get them both knocked out at once, but it's, as far as being able to run our summer school, we probably need to do one
You
at a
need
time.
one site cleared, even in the summer.
Yeah.
I would say too, there were some cost savings built into this. If we wanted to expose the pipes, they're willing to come off their price significantly, but it's pretty ugly. The sprinkler system at Wilson will be very difficult because there's not much overhead room, and that one we may have to do it that way just because of space. But Northwood, I think, could all be hidden, and I think it'd look really nice.
And there's no real way to know which is the priority as between the two. Maybe the older building,
I
or
think
is
Wilson
that?
probably is your priority. A lot more wood, a lot more flammability issues at Wilson than there is at Northwood. It's pretty much still in concrete.
Younger children in terms of trying to,
Right.
their mobility in terms of an emergency.
Right. And we desperately need to upgrade our fire alarm system at Wilson too.
Mhm.
It's not good.
Thank you for that information.
So do you have a list of sorry,
Oh, it's okay.
do you have a list of things that you plan for the summer? Have you started something like that, or do you have then the day after school's out, did you have ideas of things you want to do?
I didn't bring it with me, but I can bring that at the next meeting and make sure that you all
That'd
have
be
that
interesting to
list.
see,
We do
kinda.
have a pretty good list.
Okay.
And we have principals each side, talk to the teachers and develop a list from that too. So there's the things that we know about, and then there's also the list of things that they would like to see happen. We haven't developed a list of needs versus wants. And
Sure.
We kind of go from there.
We have already been working on our carpet and things like that, so they can already, get those things in the works, and we can get that rolling. We were kind of late getting that going last year, and it really put us in a pinch trying to get things back together for school, so we want to get a jump on that this time.
And I'm assuming we are waiting on estimates for the balcony and the auditorium costs, or?
Waiting on a little more information
Okay.
from the engineer. He talked to me about most of those as we were going through the building, but we really want that in writing so we don't miss anything, and make sure we're completely educated on what's going to make it safe.
Absolutely.
Do you feel confident that he is qualified to give the solutions to the individual problems?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
When do you think we should
Yeah, have we gotten anything?
know, there's been a request for information. Right, so, no, but that just went out, so.
Right.
He hasn't responded yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay.
Because that was just like Friday, wasn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, Thursday or Friday, something like that.
Yeah.
But we are pursuing information on it.
Yes,
so.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, item number 8, discussion and possible action to amend School Board Policy Article 1, Section 1.8.3, location and televising of school board meetings.
Yeah, and I put this on there because I've had several board members mention to me that they would like the flexibility maybe of moving back onto school property and getting in a little more of a round table type of situation again. And to do that, we wouldn't actually televise our meetings anymore. We would stream them through Ustream, which would make them available, all over the world. And then we would still broadcast them put them on YouTube, just the same as what we do now. I have that particular wording and how that would be changed if you would like to see that. Anyone interested in doing that?
I like the idea of being able to have it, somewhere in the district. I do like the idea of it being televised, though. I know that, situations would say that they'd like to be able to watch part of it, or they've turned it on, or that sort of thing. And I know that some of the people that watch it on television may not watch it on their computers. Some of the people that watch it on their computers may not watch it on television. Some of them may be saying they watch it and they don't at all. I don't know. I really wish there would be a way, even if it couldn't be televised as it was happening, if there was a way that we could get it, the next day, if it could be broadcast.
I imagine we
or
could do that.
something.
I think we could. I've talked to Todd, and he said there's no problem to get that to where we could get it on the website and get it where we could get it to YouTube. I'm sure that it also could be given to our local cable station for them to play throughout the week if we wanted to.
That's an idea.
I kind of
Every day.
I kind of like
Yeah,
it
how
being.
fun.
I like the idea of the venue being in our district at one of our district sites. But I like it being on Channel 22, and I didn't think about the possibility of it still being able to be on 22.
Yeah. I don't know that we
next
could do
day.
it live on
Right.
23, I think, actually.
23.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be live? I mean, the football games are...
The Ustream, like for
Ustream.
everybody on the internet, it would be live, but it wouldn't be on Cablevision. Anyone that has Suddenlink cable wouldn't be on Channel 23 any longer unless we put it on in a delayed way. And I don't know that there's any way we could, and I'd have to talk to him about that, if there's any way that could be sent straight to the cable and broadcast. I don't know if that'd be kind of out of my league on that.
They did it in this building.
Yeah.
Somewhere there's a direct feed.
Right. And see, I don't know, there's a lot of equipment in there. I don't know if we would need to have similar equipment, because the way we actually have a lot of equipment, and we have probably $60,000 worth of equipment that Steve Boots donated to the school, purchased that and donated to the school for the broadcasting of the football and basketball games. And so we have a lot of equipment, and so that same equipment could possibly be used straight in if we had a feed. I just have to investigate that and see.
Well, the advantage is when I watched it, you see three of us, but sometimes you don't see you when you're talking, or one of you, so it would make it nice as far as being able to see and hear. But so you've worked this out with Mr. Davis?
Yes, I told him that I was going to bring this up and ask him if the board decided to do this, if he'd be willing to help us out with that, and he said, "Oh, most definitely." So, yeah, he said he could do it easily, and he's the one that mentioned all this, real expensive equipment that we have. That I'm not even real sure if everyone was aware that we had that. Yeah, that we do. It's some
Well, I
really
know
top-notch equipment.
You bring in right now your PowerPoint, when you
Yes.
want, it's cumbersome when you need to bring in
It is.
equipment and
Right.
things like that for making presentations.
Yeah, because we have to bring in a laptop and a projector to do that, and we really appreciate the city for giving us this venue. It's been really, really great, but
It has been.
it would be easier for us because we could do presentations every single month, but now it's kind of hesitate to do it because all the equipment you have to bring with you to set it up. So,
Well, I know we just acted on this last month, and I looked at the policy. I'm just wondering if we couldn't try it a month or two and see if we are happy
yeah, I think that'd
with
be,
how
I
it
think that'd be-
works before
be
we
doable, yeah.
actually amend our policy.
I think,
Would that be like suspending the policy temporarily? Not, or you don't even have to suspend it? You would just,
I don't think we would have to do that. We could even say, if we wanted to do that, we could vote. We would need to vote to hold our meeting in a different location.
Right.
Because the notice would need to be prepared to put
Accordingly.
everyone.
Right.
And in doing that, we could say that we were going to basically do this as an exception to that policy.
Our policy says all meetings of the board shall be held at Seminole Public Library in the Goldie Barnett Conference Room
Right.
unless conditions make it advisable that another place be selected, in which case the clerk shall notify each member of the change.
So this could be an advisable.
So we're
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
okay with that then.
Sure, we have the ability to do that, That's
That's
not a
why we did that,
priority.
so that we could have retreats and so forth too, possibly.
And we don't, there's no sense of not, in my position is one that I think we would be able to get more of the information that we need sometimes.
Mhm.
If we were.
Accessible.
Yes, it would be more easily accessible if we were at a school site. It might be less intimidating for some that we're presenting to the board, a less formal setting, but it would still have the benefits of being broadcast and recorded visually.
Well, and another plus to it is, we don't have a lot of executive sessions, but when we do, this would allow the people that are in attendance to stay in a comfortable setting in the library. They can turn on a TV if they want to, and we can go to the conference room, and we don't have to worry about the possibility of something accidentally being recorded still, or even, you know, I always feel bad for people that are standing for a long period of time, you know.
So, I think it'd be nice to try it a month or two.
It's a good idea. Good idea.
Could we only do it in that one place?
Well, it works really well for us there because we have the Mead board, we have a projector, we have the laptop. It's the best setting for us to have everything that we need to do presentations easily. And I'd like for them to be able to show you our NWA and all the data we have from that and our reading program. And the other sites, we can do that, but it's the easiest at the middle school.
I like having it on one place too, because everybody knows it's going to be at the middle school library. You don't have to worry about.
Yeah. That's a simple, for us as a staff, that's the simplest for us.
That
Because
has been nice while it's been here, knowing that it was, you know, not having to double check where it was going to be. When I made the original recommendation for us to visit different sites, we had discussed it, and several of us had not been in every site in the district. There were some of those for a few years, you know, just depending upon the ages of our children. And so I would just say that I would encourage each of us, myself included, to try to make a point of being, you know, present at each of the sites, maybe attending an awards assembly or a music program, something that just gives us a visual image of each of our sites at least once throughout the school year, if it's possible. It's not a policy, and it's not designed to be a major inconvenience, but just something that kind of puts us there. It really made a difference, those meetings that we did hold in the different venues, but I think we've seen how much more convenient it is, and for the general public too, to always know if there's a school board meeting, it's going to be in that one location.
Well, there's room at the middle school for you to set up chairs like this, where some sites, that's not possible.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true. I do like the round
Because
table.
we've had good participation, and that's been great.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
And that way we can see each one of us. That's the one thing that bothers me too, that we're not seeing all of us interacting at the same time. I'm assuming if it was streaming, it would look like more of what it feels like when we're there, you know.
I would think so, yeah.
A more collaborative process.
Yes, I think it's
Well,
easier to talk when you're right across from the person than.
Yeah,
you
and
know.
I think that we can have more fail-safes in that situation too. But we're, you know, Zach's done a fantastic job for us, but he's the only one that knows how to operate.
Yeah.
You know, whereas I think we can probably get several people trained that could do it, because I know for some football games, Todd's actually just used his iPhone in a time or two. Yeah. So it can be simplified. Now, the equipment's not simple, but the process of filming it can be pretty simple.
Okay.
So we might try that and see.
Someone want to
Do we need to make do I
make
have
a motion to do that?
I would say for us to I would make a motion that we give that a try, that we allow you at the earliest opportunity in terms of being able to get it set up and everything. I mean, I wouldn't want to say the next meeting and then have there be some sort of difficulty.
Right. I'll do my best to do it for this next meeting if we can. Okay. And I'll see what we can do about getting it to the Cablevision as well. If we could still do that and stream it, it'd be great.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that would be nice.
Yeah.
I don't know that those who watch it on TV, I'm not sure how important it is to them that they see it that same night. I don't know if the convenience of being able to stay at home overrides having to wait to see it.
Right.
I mean, I think there are some that it is, but I think if we have it on our Facebook page, the link to Ustream, so they can watch it live.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and that'd be obviously where we need to do it, where they have that link, because it's sometimes difficult to find the football games if you don't know where you're
It
looking.
is.
Right.
So, yeah, so that the link would be important. That's true. Good point.
We need to help educate the public on how to find those meetings, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then
you'll-
I make a motion, we relocate our meetings to Seminole Middle School and stream our meetings live on Ustream at the earliest convenience to Mr. Pritchard. And set it up
Do I have a second?
on a trial basis.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Kay Levy,
Yes.
Amy Cole-Glazier,
Yes.
Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
yes.
Item number 9, consider and take necessary action to approve the fiscal year 2016 school calendar.
I didn't look, do the parent-teacher conferences in October conflict with the board meeting? Do we have, well, I can look on my calendar right now.
I don't know. Good question.
October 12th,
Okay.
2015 is a board meeting.
Okay.
Is that one of the days for?
Yes, it
parent-teacher
does.
conference?
Yes.
We had that happen this year.
Yeah, we might want to move that board meeting,
Okay.
or parent-teacher conference. Those aren't necessarily set in stone, but we can adjust that if we need to. Good catch.
Okay.
This is, you put in 5 snow days, is that about normal?
Yeah, and some
kind of
years,
a guess.
some years we don't use any, and other
Sure.
years we use a bunch. Yeah,
Right.
so you really just don't know. Yeah. But that's, we have the 5 snow days, and I think we also have another potential one there too, to make 6, if I'm not mistaken. So that's usually enough to take care of us, but sometimes it's not.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully it will.
All right, do I have a motion with that correction?
So moved.
All right, roll call, please. All right, we need a second.
I'll say.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, who?
Amy
Oh,
seconded
okay,
it.
thank you. Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Glazier.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes. Item number 10, consider and take necessary action to approve the application for sanctioning the Seminole Band Boosters.
This is just something we do every year that allows them to operate fully sanctioned.
And I appreciate all of the information that they provide. You know, we
Very
don't
important.
have to ask, it's provided to us, and it's all very well organized, and that's very nice. It's very well done.
Corey writes a check to himself.
I did not notice that.
No, I didn't either. That's not good.
Well,
At least he told us about it, right?
Yeah.
that's right, at least he gave us a pretty copy of that.
Any discussion?
This has to be done every year, right?
Yes.
This is,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, there's several things you'll see that we do that are yearly things.
sure.
I move for the approval of item 10.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Glazier.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Item 11, consider and take necessary action to approve the gifted education plan. And this is again a yearly action. And that also had a lot of information.
Mhm.
And I appreciate the changes.
Mhm.
Yes.
That was so
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah.
Any discussion? I'm just reading.
We can,
Well, I'll make a motion that we approve the gifted education plan.
I'll second that.
roll call, please.
Amy Cole-Frazier,
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Item number 12, discussion and possible action to accept delivery of a quitclaim deed executed by Perry Robertson and Angela Robertson, husband and wife, donating the real property legally described below to the Seminole Independent School District number 1-001 of Seminole County, Oklahoma. Would you like me to read the legal description?
I don't know that it's necessary.
And I've got the deed, they dropped it by my office. Perry, he's another attorney in town, and I guess it was before end of last year, I think it's worth noting, we didn't have the large crowds at our board meetings, and I think it's just worth noting, this is not like out of the ordinary. This is something that's,
Yeah.
we've had
Well, we
several
have.
properties donated that
Right.
are around our school, and Perry, he contacted me over a year ago. He picked this lot up at a tax sale
Yeah.
for very little, and said that, he's told me several times anything he can do to help out the school district, he's willing to do, and this is something he can do. They have kids that will be in our school system, and they're very, if you know much about them, they've got a 4-year-old daughter that's been through more than any of us should go through in a lifetime. So they're very good, and we're happy that he was willing to help out in some way.
Right, very, very appreciated.
I would move for the approval of agenda item.
I have some questions. Where is this? I didn't know. Do you know where it is?
It's directly north of that first parking lot on the corner of Timmons and Mike Snyder.
Uh-huh.
It's directly north. It's between the two homes on the west end of the 500 block of College.
Okay, so it's on College, and it's towards the end, going towards Jefferson.
It's going toward Timmons. It's on the west end of that 500 block. There's the lot, and then there's the one house. There's the house that, this is the easier way to put it. There's the house on the corner of College and Timmons.
Right.
It
And
faces
it's
Timmons.
right.
Right.
It's the lot, and that's
Ne-
lots 19 and 20, I think. And this is it's
Right
to
next.
that, right
Okay,
next to it.
so it's that house that, right behind the one that faces Timmons.
It's not a house.
It's not a house, just a.
It's just an empty lot.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, that helps me. I just didn't, when I went by, it didn't have an address, so I wasn't sure. So you've seen that?
Jack's told me where it was. That's what-
Okay,
Yeah.
so you haven't visited with the Robertsons?
No, I haven't. No.
Here,
Oh.
and I'm sorry, I meant to give it to you. Here's the deed.
Oh, good.
And so that doesn't actually touch our property. I mean, that's like there's,
It does.
It does touch our
Touches.
the parking lot. Okay.
So
that's
it could be
good.
used kind of
As-
as a, even
So
as a
it's
parking lot.
functional
if-
no matter-
Functional, if we,
It abuts currently owned property.
Okay, that's good.
It's good.
so your
I wasn't-
thoughts on that?
Yeah, we've had several different people donate properties to, just like the one that's just north of the admin building. And that's always nice when they think
Do
of us to
that.
do that, because
Great
that gives
job.
us extra parking, sometimes extra mowing too, but but it's good to have that property it is.
But there's no structure on
Appreciate
it.
But there's no
Yeah.
structure, so.
There's
Yes.
no structure.
Yeah, so we don't have to worry about demoing anything, so that's.
Do
that's
we
good.
have to remove utility lines or anything?
We haven't.
I mean, would we have to? Would we?
I'd have to look at it and see, I actually would probably have Ed look at that and see what we'd need to do to be able to use that for parking. But if it.
I'm just curious.
If it butts up the property we already have, well, then that shouldn't be too difficult to do.
Yeah, it's nice to have. It's very generous on their part.
Yes, we appreciate it.
It is.
Okay.
I make a motion that we accept their gift of the listed property in item 12 via quitclaim deed.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mickey Upton,
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Amy Cole-Clasher.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes. Okay, item number 13, discussion regarding the Board of Education's awards of academic excellence.
I've had questions from various people just about this.
I have two.
And I didn't request it be an action item. It's just discussion because I knew we do have criteria. I've always, they're the board's awards, but I've always, our department heads are experts at what they do, and I trust them to select the right students.
I'm relieved we don't see the students. I'm just my own 2 cents.
Right.
I have the criteria, if anyone would like to see it. I brought it just
I'd
in
love
case.
to. And is it a part of the handbook? Is it a part of policy?
No, I think it's just part of what guidelines that we give to the teachers. Because I don't believe it's in the policy book.
Well, it probably should be.
It could easily be incorporated into it, yeah. It could be an addendum to it.
If I wanted my child to win the Instrumental Music Award, I'd like to know what it took to get there.
That could be done very easily.
I think that's the question that I've had is, one of the questions I've had is just, there seems to be a misunderstanding or concern. It's the board's awards of excellence, but I think there's been some communication by staff that it's not their top award. And I think that's where some of the questioning has been.
Right, yeah. And I think it probably varies according to which faculty member you're talking about and what program they might run.
Probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think that's why I asked for requested public discussion, because it might benefit some for it to be discussed among the board and Mr. Pritchard that this is the top award, if
Yes.
I'm not mistaken, is it not? Okay.
Yes, it is. Well, that's what we consider it to be. And I don't know if that's ever been necessarily communicated to every single sponsor of every activity, but that's obviously, with the ceremony and what we do, that we consider it to be the top award, yeah.
And I know that, some departments in the past have rotated which instructor they allow to select, so that over the years, everyone in a department has been able to participate in selecting one, because it's very unusual that one person in a department will have all of the students come through his or her class. So, I understand it's very difficult. It says here it will be a consensus of all teachers, but that can be difficult.
When sometimes there's just one teacher.
That's true.
Well, the person who questioned me just questioned what was considered, and were additional competitions considered and things like that. So,
Right, yeah.
but the main thing I'm like Jack is that they know it's the top
Right.
award. I
Right.
think that was.
Well, that's definitely what we've
Question.
always considered to be. This will be our 29th year of these awards, and it's the only awards that we give out with, a ceremony like this. So it's, to me, it's definitely the top award.
So anybody that has a question on the criteria or just anything in regards to this can come to the administration
And we
office and pick up?
actually, without even having to put it in the board policy book, we could
Put it on.
post this on our website.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And this isn't urgent because they've already been selected for this year.
Right.
Right.
It won't be,
Yeah.
it's going to be another year.
Yeah.
But they would see,
Well,
you know.
anything, and that's, Mickey has a point that anything that's not policy, that people don't necessarily have a chance to see it, and so people might not even realize that there is a criteria that they go by. So we can definitely post that and have it on there, and that way people can see it.
And I would also mention the people that contacted me were extremely respectful and were not angry about anything.
Good.
It was just a
Right.
civil conversation.
Yeah.
And I I think this would be a good time. You know, Kayla Miller does a beautiful job on our awards of
She
excellence.
does.
With-
She does.
Every year, it goes so smoothly, and you just feel special just for getting to be there. And
Yeah, she does a really good job. She really does.
it's really, and
That is a big job.
the instructors do such a nice job, and department heads of their write-ups of the individuals, and I think, but I understand there are those that may be concerned, and so they should have access to these guidelines.
I think that's-
So
I agree.
that's good. But it's very special.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. Item number 14, discussion and possible action regarding the development of the Seminole Public Schools Facilities Master Plan.
I would say while we have some information, I probably see our number one priority in the development of a master plan as being what we can do this summer. And identifying those things, and this is just speaking for myself, identifying those things that can be tackled this summer so that we can, and making sure that they are not, that those items do not clash with anyone else's idea on the board of where we could be going with the master plan. But at the same time, starting in on some summer projects that we can afford to pay for right away and that make the most of the summer calendar that's rapidly approaching. And so while I'm not wanting us to totally take our focus off of the master plan, I'm wanting us to say, right now, this month, let's look at this short term while we have summer right there, while we know we're going to be having to do something with the high school balcony. And I would suggest we also go ahead and ask for bids for the Wilson sprinkler project. And I don't think that that would be in conflict with any sort of idea that I've heard with respect to goals and objectives we may have as a district.
And that falls right in line with what we wanted to do, is to proceed with one of the sites with the sprinklers. So it falls right in line with
And
that.
I think that instead of, I think we need to move on that. We're in a position financially with the building fund where we can, and I think we need to move on that this summer and start that process right away.
Right. And we could afford to do both, but I think we need to do one at a time.
And I'm not saying that's all we can discuss tonight. I'm saying that's just where I think we need to begin tonight, is looking at what we do this summer.
I would, go ahead. Go ahead. Well, I would consider those topics as common ground projects, basically, you know? I mean, we've always addressed everything that's come along, big or small, or we attempted to, and it was always on the list. In my mind, a master plan, I think of, you know, it's going to be changing with every board that we have. And right now, we've made a lot of progress in the last year. I mean, a year ago in April, we voted to 5-0 to build a new high school. And I don't want to lose that momentum that we have going right now. And I do respect the fact that we've got to get back to unity on this board. It's crucial. It's crucial for our district. It's crucial for our community. But we need to figure out, along with those things that I think are very, very important. I think we were going to address them anyway. But we do need, I think that I don't want to put off the discussion about the high school issues. I mean, that's pressing. Everyone in this community wants to know what's going on, and it was, I think it's safe to say every one of us has probably been pressed by people wanting to know answers, or they're just kind of, we're in limbo, everybody is. So, I really, I do respect the fact that we've always said we have money in our building fund to address the issues at the other schools. And that's what it was always planned for, as far as I was concerned. I mean, we were always, going to use that money. That's.
Okay, when were we going to put sprinklers in Wilson?
Well,
and
that.
Northwood? And I mean, were we going to make a motion to that?
That's a
No,
good
but
point.
we
Yeah.
can do that.
Right, and that's what I'm
agree.
suggesting.
We
That
can
is-
do that, but we can also work on a
Right. I think it's a bigger
master
picture than
plan
that, is what I'm
agree
saying.
completely.
that
So-
focuses.
That's why with all due respect, and I mean that seriously, I know
Sure.
people have said that that's not always the nicest thing to say, but I mean it sincerely. That is truly important to point out that we need to do it. And it is high time that we can use that building fund money for big projects like that if we have it. But there's still a lot of options out there, and we need community involvement, and we need to listen to our administrators and the public and all of us, because ultimately whatever we decide still has to be voted on and passed by our community. So anyway, I definitely wanted to say that at some point, but anyway.
I don't want to lose the momentum by just waiting till the summer and doing sprinkler. I mean, I'm all for doing that, okay?
Right, and I think
But
that's.
I want us to continue to discuss. I mean, we have a balcony and we have an old gym issue that we need addressed. And of course, I know we can't right now because we haven't had your questions answered. But also, we have some other concerns at that site, the high school, and other sites that I think we really need. I don't want to put that off. I've had too many questions asked about what the next step is and where do we go from here. And I do know it's going to take community support. So I would like for us to keep that discussion going instead. I mean, and maybe I misunderstood you on
No, I was
the
suggesting
summer.
where we start right now.
Right.
As part, and my idea is that a master plan addresses those things in the short term and the long term.
I agree, and it's a work in progress because you're
Oh, yes.
constantly,
Right.
our needs change. I
Right.
They
mean,
do.
look at the balcony situation.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
can-
they change overnight. You can't.
Yeah, they can pop up in a
And there's
heartbeat.
information that we're waiting on from a number of
Right.
sources.
Very true.
Well, and
Including
that brought to my next question.
the engineer.
And I know they're not done because we set it off 60 days, but how is the ag committee doing?
I think they're working on it. They've kind of looked at the sites, and they hope to have that ready to go possibly by next month.
Super.
Yeah, so they met a few times. And let me say this as a clarification, as far as with the sprinklers, we try to stay on top of everything and do everything as they come, but things that rise to the level of needing to do bids, we typically I'll ask for board approval to solicit bids on those. And so this is
This would
something.
be one of
This
those.
is something that's
Right.
a
Big enough.
larger project that anything that's not of that nature, we just try to go ahead and do it and kind of tell you as we go, and because we're trying to get them knocked out. But this is over that $75,000 threshold, and so this does extend a little more into
And it would
Yeah.
certainly need to be done in the summertime. There's no way
Right.
that a project.
right.
And in order to get this done in the summertime, we probably need to suggest that you go ahead and seek bids on this project right away.
Yes.
Or we can move on from there certainly, and I hope we do, but
To get
I
that
want to make
started.
sure we don't miss out on getting that started.
Right,
Because we
that's
don't get
important.
that started, we're looking at missing out on this summer,
Right.
and then it's next summer before we can even start on the first one of
Yeah,
those.
and that's something that kind of, and to me, there's, on the things that are on the master facility plan are the things that are the larger items.
Right.
Like changing carpet, and some of the stuff that was included, like even in the Renaissance report of, paint and
Yes.
Yeah.
I think things that you have to do repeatedly, things that will depreciate very quickly with time,
Right.
paint and repaint carpet, that sort of thing, latches on bathroom doors, bathroom doors
Routine.
themselves. I do think it is very important, but I don't think it would require board action to make sure that all of the windows in the high school,
Well,
that we
working
don't.
on it right now.
Right, that we don't face
Yeah.
that. And if we're using
Right.
that type of window anywhere else, maybe at Wilson, there may be a few like that we check,
Right.
we use that opportunity of that happening in that one classroom to go ahead and make sure that we're not dealing with situations like that in any other classrooms.
Right.
But I agree, we do need to move forward, and we've got to find a way to do it in a way that builds consensus, and that
That's right.
isn't an idea just being brought forward by any one board member. I think that's very important, too.
So you're suggesting that we
That we
look at the present, immediate,
That we start with a
project.
motion, right, because we're allowed to take action within the master plan item itself. We can have several motions, not just
Sure.
a single motion. And so I would begin by making a motion that we direct Mr. Pritchard to solicit bids for the placement of a sprinkler system at Wilson for this summer.
And, okay. So that's, you've got a motion on the table. I just was curious if, after, I didn't know, I'd like to know where we go from there into the, sort of the sequence of discussions. I know we need more information on the repairs on the balcony and the school, because that's going to make a difference. What we find with the high school, we've got a lot of details that we need to have as much information about that as possible from qualified individuals to know exactly what the costs are, which will affect decision-making.
I know, he came, the structural engineer came. what?
April 1st.
April 1st.
Mhm.
And you received his report last week.
Yes.
So it took him 10 days maybe?
Probably, yeah.
To get you
Mhm.
a written report.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
No, I haven't received a response. I sent that via email, and I haven't received a response yet. Hopefully it won't be too long, because that report is crucial, because it'll be really difficult to move forward until we know, because our master facilities plan, as we have it, has had the consideration in every plan that we've had of the current high school continuing to be used. And we really need to get a full
Right.
evaluation as to what the cost will be using that in whatever capacity moving forward, before we can make a good informed decision as to the entire
What is done to
facility
it.
plan.
Yeah.
Does that make
Because
sense?
his report talked about the balcony and the gym, but it also talked about if
Plumbing,
we start
electrical.
doing work
Yeah.
on that building, then we may be required to bring everything into code.
Yeah, and that's what.
What code is that talking about?
Well, see, that's, I assume that he's talking about electrical code, plumbing code, ADA code, and all those type of things. And we really.
Well, he said that in
We
there.
really need a lot more information for us to be able to make a good quality decision, we need to know, okay, if we're gonna do all the things that are suggested here, which we would probably need to do if we, have someone come and do that, what are the costs going to be? Because we need to know how much it would be to do the plumbing and to do electrical, to elevate the building, as he talked about doing, and to fix the balcony and to fix to where we have all those issues addressed, because it's really difficult to make a decision what we're going to do moving forward until we know, he gave us his opinion that it might cost as much or more than building a new facility, but we need to know what we're really talking about.
Yeah,
And that's my opinion. How much are we really talking about to do those things?
To
because I
me,
don't know.
that's why it's hard for us to really address this
Right.
master plan, because we don't
Until
really
we have
know
some of
that
those answers, it's going to be
information.
hard to move forward. Obviously, everyone's agreed that we need a new high school, and we're just a matter of location, but we really need to know what's going to happen with the current high school first, in my
Especially, I mean,
opinion,
if we're
yeah.
talking about continuing to use it for some other purpose.
Yes,
Right, exactly.
Because if we're going to
Right.
continue to
In any
use
way,
it for,
yeah.
whether it be one floor or for
Right.
admin or whatever it might be, we need to know the cost associated with it. That's just my own personal opinion.
What they would require of
Right,
us. I mean, if we were
right.
just going to use one floor, what,
Yeah,
I mean, there's just a lot of unanswered.
a lot, yeah.
There are, and
Information.
you know, like, when we talked, I guess it was the first March meeting, well, it would have been the March meeting, like the March 9th meeting, and we talked about everybody kind of going their separate ways and putting their ideas on paper and their list of priorities and whatnot. And I did that, and I kind of put together my idea of a schedule for improvements. And then when, at the second March meeting, when Mr. Lemming spoke to us, well, heck fire, a lot of the things that I wrote down, I could cross off.
Right, right.
And then there were some things that
That added to it,
add.
right.
Right.
It sounds like we're close to having the information we needed. We're also waiting on some appraisal information that
Yes.
you mentioned in your administrative report.
Right.
I think that's absolutely necessary for development of this. But I mean just on what I wrote down, you know, one of the things was, you know, deciding what to do with the Pleasant Grove property and the Harvey Road property, and the appointment of an ag committee. I mean, that was kind of satisfied that.
Right.
That's a necessity. You know, what you do with 38 acres and 16 acres of real property.
Right.
So I mean, I think we're moving a lot quicker and getting a lot more information and almost there to build a consensus and be there where we need to be, to start scheduling, start visiting with bond counsel and financial advisors, figuring out how much can be financed via revenue bonds or obligation bonds, for how long, you know, all that information we have to have
Right.
before we call an election. So we're closer than, we're getting there.
We're just trying to, I just want people to realize that we're making progress in the meantime with starting projects in the summer, like Amy suggested, and moving forward, but that we're not putting off the, you know, the largest
high school.
are,
Well,
yes.
now,
high school.
people need to really
Exactly.
be cognizant of the fact
The
that,
main issue.
that this engineer's report kind of came out of left field on us.
Yeah,
Yes.
it
And
did.
that's-
Yes, it
that
did.
kind of changed the playing field a little bit.
Again.
What happened,
New
he
information.
was here last year?
Mm-hmm.
Did, what was he here last year?
All we had him look at
Liability?
last year was, you know, because we had identified back
was-
when Chris Lilly had his
Right.
structural engineer come, that there were some issues, that there looked like there was a little bit of warping of the, what are they, the trusses in the old gym. And so, and we had Renaissance look at that, and I said, yeah, you probably ought to, you know, address that pretty quickly. So we just didn't have anybody tell us what the fix was. And so we contacted him. Ed had worked with him quite a bit and trusted him, and so we brought him in to give us the fix. And that's what we liked about him, is that he is good at saying, okay, this is what you need to do, but we haven't gotten that from him on this yet. So we need to get that on every one of these and find out exactly what it's going to take to, you know, because, you know, every plan that we've talked about, going way back, has always incorporated still some use of the current high school. But now we need to find out if that's still practical or not.
Well, and exactly, and I mean, no matter how much we finance, how much debt we take on, and no matter how long it takes to pay off, gotta have the high school in a condition that
Yeah.
can be used if that's the direction we're going. Now, the structural engineer for with Chris Lilly, he was here not that long ago.
It was in 11, I think.
2011?
Yeah.
Is there differences in those two?
That's a good question. I don't know, and it either tells me that there's issues that have really deteriorated since then. You know, I don't remember taking him down into the basement and looking at those things. We were really what Chris, the structural engineer, was doing was looking at whether we could move walls because we were, trying to decide whether it'd be better to remodel or to build a new one. And so he was really looking at, at that. Can we create larger classrooms that are square instead of, long and narrow and that type of thing. And so he was focused more on that, but he did note that there was some twisting in the old gym, and he also noticed that we had some cracks in the bricks on the outside. But my assumption is that I think that area, this current engineer, Mr. Williams, I think he's probably kind of hit on it, that maybe water is causing that to sink more, which is causing that to twist, because even since we've repaired that in the old gym, it seems like it's twisted more. So I think that we've got an issue there where that's sinking that we're going to have to address to get the old gym where it's safe. And then, obviously the balcony is crucial to get that. And then other than that, my hopes is that the rest of the building is still structurally sound, and that it would just be the electrical and the plumbing and some of those type of things to address. And, we'll just have to see what, he wants us to cut a couple of slabs, for examination. We'll just have to kind of see what that is. He hasn't answered me as far as exactly what that's for.
I think it would take some more information as to why before we started cutting into.
Yeah, and definitely with kids present.
Yeah, that would have to wait till September.
So when you get that information,
Mhm.
I mean, is it possible that we might have a special?
Yes, as soon as we get that, I will forward it, and then we can make a decision at that point. If everybody wants to, as soon as I get that, I'll forward it to you, and I'll try to see about setting up a special meeting. Or do you prefer that I go ahead and try to start trying to get some estimates on all those different things?
If you want to go ahead and would you want to go ahead and get bids on a Wilson sprinkler project, so we'd have
Yes.
the information?
Yeah, we can go.
I'll second
Okay,
a
now,
motion. for
now
purposes
that'll
of
take
this.
a period of time, because we have to advertise those for 28 days
I'm all
or so,
for that.
something like that.
Yeah, it needs to be
But then
done.
maybe we can do that, or even if we can just get all that information by the next meeting would be, and if we can get that letter back from him, my assumption is that you would want me to go ahead and get some estimates on what all those things would cost. Is that correct?
Do you want to try to go ahead and set up a special meeting date, maybe the first week of May or something?
We can, or we can just wait till we see what we get. It's really makes no difference to me.
Well, I just don't know how long it's going to take.
Since we're all
Right.
here, you might, because it's,
Yeah.
texting all of us individually, and
Okay.
it might be easier to schedule it now.
Before things fill up.
But
Well, we can do that, and then if we don't have the information, we just
We just
won't do it.
cancel
Yeah.
it, yeah.
Okay. I don't have a calendar. Yes, I do, back here, school calendar. No, that's next year.
I've got one too.
I think
Okay.
Nikki might know. School calendar, what did you need?
Well, I just don't have a calendar to know what,
I've got one right here.
what's what days.
If you would rather just go ahead and, when you're back at the office or something, and go ahead and get with us.
Because you may have end-of-school activities get pretty crazy.
We do have a lot,
right.
yeah.
It just might be easier if we go ahead and try and do it the next few days, as opposed to before everyone's calendars fill up.
Right. Does anyone have any particular days that they won't be available that first week in May?
Monday, May 4th, I can't.
Friday is better.
Well, what about Thursday the 7th?
I'm available Thursday at 7.
I'm available.
As far as I know.
Okay. When that, we have a meeting on that following Monday, but that would allow us to address only those issues on the 7th then.
Okay.
Okay, we'll set that up for 6 PM. And I'll go ahead and send the notice, and and we'll try to have it at the middle school if we can. And if we don't have the information yet, well, then we won't do it.
Or if it comes in much sooner and you would rather try to schedule one earlier and
Okay.
it works with everyone's
Okay, we'll see.
calendars.
The thing that I'd like to do, if I can, is if we get that information back, I think our meeting would be more productive if we could also kind of have an idea of what those costs would be, because he made a pretty broad statement there that, that we need to look at that and say, okay, how much will it cost to do the plumbing, to do the electrical, and to do the leveling? And some of those we could probably go ahead and get an idea from having some people come and look at that. And then maybe by that time we have more information on what he's talking about with the balcony and with the bleachers.
And what exactly he means by codes, because there are
Right.
some things that schools are subject to and some
Right.
other things that they aren't. Now,
Yeah.
anything having to do with safety,
Mhm.
it's not a matter of just worrying about a code.
Right.
We
Right.
want to.
That's a priority.
Yeah,
Right.
that's-
Well, and,
we want to do the right thing.
Right, and I know that when you hit a certain level, and that's what architects have always told me, is that when you, and it sounded like what he meant in that letter, is that when you reach a certain level of remodel, that now you have to be ADA compliant, and you have to bring everything up to all the codes that would be applicable, I think. So that's what we can be trying to find out that information, so when we could get his report back, we can, because I hate to meet and just say, okay, here's what it says we need to do. Now we need to check and see how much it costs to do them.
Right.
The more information we can have for you, the better off it'll be.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Will the
Okay.
meeting be at the middle school?
We'll try to have it at the middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think we can. I'm not sure if we can, I don't know yet about getting it on TV, but we can get it streamed, I'm sure about it.
We might make sure that on the Facebook page for the district and on the website, that if it does change over to the middle school, that we make that.
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay.
Because there are some people that usually come that aren't on here this evening, and I would not want them to show up here and,
Right.
well, they wouldn't know about the special meeting.
Okay.
Now, I know we have a motion and a second on the table, but Nikki, did you want to say something? You got cut
So,
off.
this is a little bit off the subject, but we contacted Mr. Williams
Mhm.
on the 1st, right?
Right.
And then.
Well, we called him early, but we set it up for him to come on first.
Yeah. And then our newspaper sent in an open records request for a copy of this, right? How long do you have to respond to an open records request? Is it 30 days,
It can vary.
60 days, 30 days?
Basically, the amount of time that it takes our administration office to gather the information.
Yeah.
So-
There's not like a.
Why would they send that in? They would send that in because they didn't think we were going to give it to them. So I'm concerned that there's an environment where someone thinks they're not going to get this.
Well, hopefully not.
This should be on our webpage.
Yeah, we can definitely put it on there.
We
yeah.
shouldn't provide information to our newspaper that we can't provide to every other single person in this room.
It's no problem. Yep.
That's why you sent it in immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't,
Well, it's
It's
because.
it's not posted in its entirety on the newspaper.
Right, and the reason for that, in Ken's defense, is because we didn't have the full information, and I asked him if he didn't mind if I could try to get more information so we could give more, because there's so many questions that we still had.
Right.
And then, he went ahead and sent that. Not offended at all, no
No,
problem.
but I wouldn't want a situation where someone has access to information the other ones don't.
Yeah.
Just because they take the newspaper, and just because they don't, or just because they live
Right.
here and they live there.
Right.
I don't,
We can definitely post it.
we have nothing to hide here.
No.
We know we
sure
have an
don't.
old school.
Yeah.
We know it needs some work to be fixed, and we know we have lots of problems with it. This isn't anything new. There's a book here that goes back a long time that has a lot of information about that. So
Right.
just put it out there for everybody to read it.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Good point. Okay. Well, we have a motion and a second, and any more discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Okay. Amy Colclasure.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes. Okay. Item.
Hopefully, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Hopefully, you will get the response from Mr. Williams, hopefully this week. I mean,
Hope
it'd be
so.
great if it was this week, and maybe even get some thoughts on the cost. And between now and May 7th, we can revise or add to our thoughts on, the master plan, the kind of a timeline that projects that we think, either take priority or need to come first due to cost and whatnot, even if it's not our first choice, but because of cost and other things. we need to address this first and then go to this.
Right.
Does that sound good to everybody? I mean.
Well, that's one thing
And
about.
I haven't asked where y'all are on your ideas.
I have mine. But I did mark a lot off.
Right, right. A lot
Well,
of
and
them were
that's-
already addressed.
That's the thing
you
about
know.
this, that hopefully we've created kind of a living document that we can always be adjusting and marking things off and putting more on there, and things will change. If we just found out, something that might have been at the top of the list might move to number 2 if something else comes up that we have to do. And I think that's one of the keys to not locking future boards into one set plan. We have a document that is continually updated. We're always adding to it, taking off after we've done them, and that we try to keep it, in my opinion, to the major things and not get tied up in the minutia of changing carpet, of painting a door, or,
And obviously, future boards aren't bound by,
Right, right.
But it's great to give, kind of, to create or establish objectives in a direction that this board would like to see the district go when
Right.
it comes to capital improvements projects.
Yep.
But of course, future boards aren't bound by it, but maybe future boards would appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
that's
true.
how it works with cities and school systems.
Sounds good.
Well, this will be an ongoing discussion, I'm sure, so we'll be making progress each time, I would imagine, so. Okay. Item number 15, discussion and possible action to adopt a policy regarding verification of residence for students enrolling in Seminole Public Schools.
The proposed policy in the agenda, there's 4 sections, and specifically section C and D. Mr. Pritchett and I talked today, and section C, we kind of already address. It's more discretionary, and we kind of address it in the preceding policy already in our books. Subsection D deals with the homeless provision, and I emailed with Julie Miller of the OSSBA today, and she provided a much more thorough and updated homeless provision in line with federal regulations that I think has really good language, obviously, and it would, so basically, on the agenda proposal, take out section C, and I made copies for everybody. Take out section C and move subsection D up and insert the homeless.
So what you have distributed is like the one on the agenda, except you've gotten rid of C, and in place of C is a better version of D.
Yes, exactly right.
I'm just making sure I was following you.
And the first part of your policy is in line with what the administrators had suggested.
Well,
correct?
and that was our other, we can look at that.
Right, there was just a couple of things that they'd requested.
Yep.
They prefer, rather than the will, they prefer the may, because they don't, there's, in particular, BLS, they feel like it'd be really time-consuming and require extra help to do that with every single student that's the first-time enrollment. And what they do, what the process has been now is that the ones that there's any question about, well, then they will ask for those things. But it's not required of them to do it with every single one that enrolls.
So our they haven't seen,
Well, they haven't seen this homeless provision. Jack and I just talked about it today. Yeah.
And that came from Julie Miller,
Yeah, it's
right?
just federal,
Yeah, we're,
federal
we
regulations.
Okay.
were
That's the
concerned
correct
about,
wording for it, so.
about the things with, and I would ask that, I hate to, just my own personal feelings on it, to add this much into a policy without giving them the opportunity to look
I
at this.
agree.
So,
That's understandable.
and it could be that everything is good, they're good with it, but I'd like for them to have that opportunity.
Yeah,
to look
and
at it.
I just like the homeless provision. That's just in line with federal regulations, but even that one kind of coincides with our existing discretionary policy.
Right.
it just kind of adds more wording to it.
Right, it's pretty wordy.
But, you know, sections A and B, and that's kind of what the issue is, what became the issue, I guess. But like I said, the homeless provision, I mean, I think the wording is helpful. But again, we kind of have a policy,
Right.
a discretionary policy that's
Yeah,
That's
that
good
covers
right
that,
now.
right. And I appreciate, you doing this and Julie doing this as well, but it is a lot of policy.
I think, I mean, we have so much, I mean, our district gets so much publicity here recently, and, you know, talking about overcrowding in our schools, overcrowding, and there's not, I mean, it needs to be, we need to ensure our residents and folks that we are addressing, where we're taking all necessary steps that
Right.
our students here, they're either, who are enrolled here, they're residents of this district, and they provide the verification. I mean, yeah, I guess it requires more parents to provide the proof of residence, but it shows they're either residents of our district and they verified that, or they've been approved by the board and the superintendent as transfers from another district. I think there's going to be some discretion in some situations, but for the most part, it ensures that our students are residents of the district.
So there is a limit to how many children we could have at our existing square footage at some point. I mean, our first grade's 170 kids in that first grade. The year before it was 140, 136. I mean, it's a big jump in one single year in the first grade. No other grade has anything close to those kind of numbers.
Well, part of that's due to retention, so.
But somebody joined there as well.
Yeah, not
We
as
could have
much.
denied it.
Yeah, not as much.
And maybe
as-
relieved our first grade teachers of being so stressed out and have them.
We do have a
classroom.
policy with regard to transfers. If we can approve a transfer if it's going to require us to hire another teacher.
Right.
And there's some other criteria where,
Yeah.
general rule, we cannot accept
Right.
transfers if it's going to require us to
And
do
we
these
we
certain
try to hold
things.
the line as much at Wilson as anywhere, as far as, telling people we can't approve a transfer just yet. We have to wait
Right.
and see if we have.
See if who's was there last year's going to be back again this
Right,
year.
right.
before
But we do have a
accept
lot of
any-
kids at Wilson. There's no
Yeah,
doubt about
and-
that.
yeah.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have more there than, per square footage, we have more there than anywhere else.
Yeah, and that, like I said, a lot of that is impacted by the retention policy, because we used to have the transitional first grade.
Okay.
We don't have that any longer, but we end up retaining a lot of students in first grade because we no longer have that T1 class.
Okay.
So,
And it is, I mean, it will, requiring this would change some things, and I mean, Mickey and I are going to have to, bring our proofs of residence and our warranty deeds, Anna.
I think Edmund, every single year.
Right. And maybe it won't, affect enrollment that much, but
yeah.
it gives us a record. And I think we've talked about with policy before, the teeth needs to be in the policy.
Right. Well, I agree with that, but sometimes it creates a difficulty for the administration in that, and that's what, I always like to try to protect them as much as possible. We want them to definitely be doing things in a correct way, but we want them to have discretion as to what they deem as appropriate at times too, and that's, and that's, obviously they'll do whatever the board desires them to do, but there's times when you know where they live, because they live right across the street, and you see them, versus someone that comes in that you don't know where they live. And so that's where the may allows you to not have to jump through the hoops every time with ones that you know, or maybe if they have 3 kids that are in the district and this is their last one, and you've already had them as they go through and you know where they live and that type of thing.
Well, I do, I think we need to be able to have some assurance that there's consistency. and I do admit there's going to be situations where discretion prevails, but just a consistent policy where where you're run-of-the-mill student, like my family, we've got to do the same thing that everyone else does. Even though I live, and the whole town knows I live at 13 Harbor Court, because, but
Some nice cars up
we're just like any other family. We're just like, and you know my property taxes. You know how much I pay in property taxes too, because of full-page ad. But we're just like any other family, and that's my point. Just some consistency in policy and consistency for everybody.
Right. And I understand, and it doesn't impact me.
Okay.
But I feel like I need to speak for the administrators and voice, what they've told me is that they much prefer the May because of the difficulty and sometimes, and when you do know where somebody lives, to not have to go through all that.
So that person will be willing to sign it to say that they approve that?
Yeah. Because obviously they've approved all of them entering into the district.
Well, they don't have to.
We're not
They have a
entering in,
gas
but they've
bill,
approved.
it's-
Yeah.
You have to sign for a gas bill if you're us.
But I guess I'm a little confused. I see this as really being an issue for BLS and Wilson, but unless Ms. Snee can tell me differently, we usually just pre-enroll students. We pass those, we used to, are you still doing that? You pass them out in May or end of April, and they fill it out, and there's not any request of they
Right.
put their address and everything, but they don't come up to the school,
Right.
and it's not a new enrollment. They're pre-enrolling. So then when they come back in August, the only enrollment would be new students to Seminole Public Schools.
Right.
When you enroll, do they still go to their homeroom teacher? So you'd be asking the teacher to be looking at this residency issue. Am I understanding this all right?
Yes, and we check those addresses. If anything's changed,
Right.
they're marked out in red. We have
They
a whole
mark them in
procedure
red, right.
to handle all of that. But any new enrollees, we check and ask them, where do you live, make sure it's in our district. We vet those, I feel like we vet those pretty well.
Yeah, I do too.
Our consistency is pretty intact because
Right.
I feel like we have a pretty strong understanding of what the district boundaries are.
And then you have those children who I know you never see the parent again after kindergarten
Right.
or first grade. They get on the bus on the first morning of school and they come to school. So there's no enrollment. They're just there
Ready to
and
learn.
ready to go.
Right.
So I guess I'm having a little trouble seeing how this is all going to work. Is this just for new students to our school?
Well, that's one thing we were trying to determine.
Well,
That's what I'm
I think
questioning.
I think that's a good, new students.
Okay, so the kids that are already in our
Yeah.
district.
If they've been, because.
You're not asking this for every year
Well,
then? 'Cause
we
you
can clarify
mentioned
that and
You and
it can,
Mr. Green
and we can clarify that and
That's
just
why.
make it new students. Because up until now, I just trust that we verified everyone that's enrolled.
We have a lot of students that hop on that bus on August the 10th or whatever first day is. You haven't seen them since May. You haven't seen their parents probably since they had to enroll them the first time. And, I don't know how you're going to
Yeah.
check the
Well,
residency.
that was part of the concern.
So
is
that's
that,
my
right,
question on
yeah.
this. I'm all for asking for utility bills on staff on new students. I see for Miss Wilmot and kindergarten and probably Miss Cheatwood where that could be a little cumbersome at times. And I don't think you want teachers asking for that information.
Well, if they're new students enrolling, I think it's a
Usually
good,
the counselor and them do that.
I think that's a good clarification.
Okay.
Okay.
So I would just, and I'm just making a motion, we can continue discussing, but I just want to, since it's on my mind right now, I want to get it. I would
Sure.
make a motion we enact the sections A and B of the proposed policy in item 15 of the agenda with one change to the first sentence under subsection A to read new students enrolling in the Seminole Public Schools to wit.
So, discussion from me. How many students did we deny last year?
Because of residency? Anybody? No, we're talking about ones that came that we
Either
said, no,
one.
you don't.
Either one, actually.
You don't actually live in the
Have we ever
district.
denied anyone?
Yeah, we have one that,
more than we let in.
okay, had one. Okay, had one
I
that
denied
that
one.
didn't live.
When I was a principal.
Yeah, trans.
Yeah,
We
we
can't
deny a
deny
lot of
residency.
transfers.
Yeah. We can't deny our
I understand.
residents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I think what Mickey's asking, they couldn't verify
how
residence.
many did we
that the
find that
residence was in
couldn't?
the
I know,
district.
I guess there was one. Did you have any, Denise? Michelle?
So I don't want our principals in a situation where they have to take someone, they have no power
Right.
to, or
Right.
feel like they don't, where we're overcrowded here and here's some more.
Right. When they have always had that ability to do this, but that's one of the things we discussed, that actually having this in there, because we've done that, we required them to bring things to show that they live there, but it wasn't actually in policy. So we need to have this in the policy, but they like the idea of it saying may, because that way, the ones they have any question about, then they check. And that's been our past practice, is if there's any question at all, then they ask for proof of where they live.
That makes sense. They may know they live across the street, or they know them personally, so I see what you're saying. They like the idea of discretionary,
They do.
the word
And
may.
anybody does that's,
But knowing the intent is to not allow people that,
That don't live in the
here
district.
to be enrolled in school.
right.
So do we also deny transfers based on academic or disciplinary?
Yes.
And we actually modified our policy last summer that kind of reworded that.
Yeah, because that's been our practice for a long time. We call and check on discipline issues with them, and if there are a discipline issue, we don't take them.
Right.
Yeah. Not as much academically as we do the other, but discipline for sure.
Jack, in your motion, you only changed you added the word new, but you want to leave will be required.
Yes, I
instead of
think it's
may
good
be
to
required.
memorialize what we do.
I'd like to see it written before all written out.
Well,
Well, it's written in the,
I mean, are we,
and you're saying only A and B
right.
and not C? You don't.
Well,
want to
I'd
include
Not
ask
say
for a
we-
chance for the
yeah.
administrators. to
And
That's what I
I
think.
think,
Yeah.
would,
That's-
I want them
could we
to read
revisit it?
It is difficult for many people to come up with a warranty deed. I don't know how many people in the room could actually put their hands on theirs right now, but the utility bills is probably something that they could
Come up with easily.
But the warranty deed may be difficult.
Well, and one of the issues we run into is that we have families that are actually living with someone else, and that's where I haven't had a chance to look at the homeless provisions, and I
It
hope
addresses
that
that.
covers all that,
Yes,
because we
it
have a
does.
lot of that where they might be living with their aunt, and so they can't bring utility bill in their
Right.
name.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
our current discretionary policy kind of.
Right,
I think
kinda covers that
addresses
as well.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, the policy that Ms. Miller provided.
Good, the homeless covers that well, because that was really kind of one of the things we're struggling with, is because we have a lot of people that would have a hard time bringing some of these different things, but they do actually reside in our district, but they don't own a home, they don't rent a home, they're living with family.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And it provides for if you own the home and also renters, and also if you have a contract on the home.
Okay.
And that's, we talked about that too. Maybe
Right.
you don't even reside in the district yet, but you have a contract on a home and you're going to close maybe after school starts.
Yeah.
Discretionary policy provides for.
Allows us to do that,
Allows you to do
which we
that.
already have in place.
Which we already do.
Okay.
But you would still like for the administrators to have a chance to look over this?
I'd like them to look at C. Yeah, you know,
At C.
I'd
We've looked
at A
I'd
and
still
B.
like it to say may instead of will.
Right, right. Well, if they're going to have to look at C, why don't?
I like May.
I like May as well. I mean, I trust that they're very diligent about checking, but being that you're asking just to move on just two parts of this policy, should we just
Well, that's all the
revisit it?
administrators asked us to move on. They provided
Oh, okay.
They
But they
provided
they
proposed.
wanted it to say May. That was what they're saying.
This is the one that they looked
Yes,
at.
Right,
So
right.
I'm
Right.
good with this one.
So, Jack, your
I would,
motion.
I would amend my motion. I mean, maybe, you know, the two bills and also a contract or sorry, deed or lease agreement. Not all of those perhaps, but I would amend my motion to basically adopt what the administrators propose, with the exception that may be that they will be asked to provide that they must provide verifiable proof of residency, and
So-
that is to include what they have set
Okay, so the
forth.
wording from the administrator, except for will in the first sentence,
Mhm.
and new students,
New
Right.
students.
and
You-
will, and then their wording. Okay.
Right, and then instead of proof proof may include, that can stay, but they will be asked to provide verifiable proof of residency.
Okay.
So what's printed in the agenda is not what y'all are reading. Can y'all read the policies?
Of course.
Yes, it's in the packet. It's what the administrators have worked on
So, but what's printed in
Thursday.
here is not what y'all are looking at, right?
No.
No,
Well, we were looking at both.
Well, subsection B is the same.
right. Yeah, B is the same, but A is different.
But we can amend it.
Do you use word for word, you're saying, as what's printed right now?
No, it's, and that word for word is, that's,
I think it is the same, Mr. Pritchard.
It is the same, Mr.
it's the
Section
same.
B.
Is
Yeah,
the
section
same
B is
as-
exactly the same, and
as
A
the
is
administrators.
condensed a little bit,
Mhm.
and so, yeah.
So is that, can I just ask good?
Okay.
Is that?
Okay, you guys need to be careful about
But-
speaking out
yes.
now, okay? Okay.
But I can read the general statement from the administrators, and Jack had suggested that we put correct me if I'm wrong, please. New students, item A, general statement, new students enrolling in the Seminole Public Schools. Jack wants it to say will be asked.
I just
to-
say shall be required, or will be required, to provide verifiable proof of residency. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Oh, that's okay. Proof may include gas, electric, or water sewer bills. If bills are paid online, a computer printout showing these transactions, a lease agreement, contract on the home, warranty deed statement, ad valorem tax statement or mortgage statement, or a letter from the landlord or management. These documents should have a physical address, not a post office box number. That's A.
And then B is the same.
And B is the same. Okay. I think our only discrepancy right now is
New students
Yeah.
and enrolling, so, okay.
it'd be new, but we're saying new, and Jack, you're requesting
Will be
it to be,
required.
will be required on every new student, not just
So
discretionary.
we're actually amending the ones from the administrators to say new
As
and
opposed to
will,
may.
and then taking that wording on that, and taking B as stated from both these.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
And I.
Is everybody thoroughly confused, or?
I will amend my motion accordingly.
And I will second that.
Roll call, please.
Jack Cadenhead?
Yes.
Amy Cole-Glazier?
Yes.
Kay Levy?
Yes.
Claudia Willis?
Yes.
Mickey Upton?
Yes.
And then
Mr. Pritchard,
I'll
can
have
you-
him look at C then, and we'll bring that.
Yeah, I think it's good wording, and I think it does a good job of setting forth our objectives as a district when it comes to how we treat homeless
Good.
um,
Well, and that was one of our,
kids and-
that's become a really big issue, and so I haven't had a chance to really look at it, but hopefully that addresses that. And it probably comes straight from School Board Association's policy.
And it says the district administration, the district administration shall attempt to remove existing barriers to school attendance by homeless children.
Good, good.
And it's
Yeah.
lengthy, but it's well organized. It's almost just-
clear.
Yes, yes.
Good, good.
So,
Okay, good.
There's a point to it.
So we're going to look at that and revisit it to add it
I'll
on
have
next
the
time?
administrators look at it. so
At
they-
the- Okay,
because-
that's what you were saying. Okay.
When do you have official enrollment? Is it October 1?
No, we do a lot of different child counts, October 1. That's what we'll do.
Is that when you report to the state?
Yes, we have there's kind of a misconception on that too, that the first quarter statistical is where you have a lot of, that's where your actual enrollments come from. But you do a special education child count, you do a gifted child count, and a lot of those are October 1st. And so there's that October count, first count that gives you those things, but then there's also your average daily membership.
ADM.
That goes into your fund.
I got your ADM numbers, like 10 years.
Yep, yep.
So would you also have this transfer number at that time?
We actually can pretty well tell you the transfer number. Yeah, we can have it as soon as they enroll, because we know if they're transfers or not at that point, yeah.
So we'd like to have what that is,
Yeah.
because it matters if we're sitting at 195 kids in first grade and 60 of them were transfers, that's a problem. We could have fixed that problem, yeah. She's like, that ain't happening.
Numbers are way off.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that wouldn't be,
right,
that
right.
wouldn't be good, so.
Yeah.
yeah, I'd
Well,
like to get that.
That- yeah, we can-
Next month, probably, won't it?
Yes, because it's actually June that the board will vote on all the open transfers. So you can see, the number of ones there, and then the principals have an opportunity to go through and see if there's anyone that's applying for an open transfer, and then they suggest, recommend whether they be approved or not approved. And that's also the time if there's one that we just decide we don't want to approve going forward, that we'll recommend that they don't be approved.
Okay.
Yeah. But I will say this, that the majority of the transfer students that we have are outstanding students. They really are.
That's what we want.
Yeah, yeah. Because actually, they gave me some of the stats at the high school, and the average GPA of our transfer students is something like 3.17, whereas the rest of our students, it's 2.7 something.
So kids want to come to Seminole schools.
They do,
pretty cool.
they do. And they want to bring their good students here.
They're good.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
And we've also had the issue forever that, and it's, we have a larger district now since PG's property is included, but, when you have a 19.5 square mile school district, you're talking about a lot of students that are transfers in. And Ms. Willman's children are transfers, my students were transfers. A lot of pretty good ones. That, so we have to remember that they want them to come here for a reason. That's because they're bright kids most of the time. And
But
they
now,
want to do
teachers
the
count as
program.
transfers? Teachers have open transfer to wherever they
No.
work, right? That's state
No,
law.
their transfers just the same.
Oh, but they're still, they can't be denied.
No, they can be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can be, but, I mean,
Nobody ever does.
it's not in our policy, but it's
Right.
kind of been
Mhm.
teachers' kids
Yeah.
come.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, there's been a case or two where we haven't.
huh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Not very often.
Okay, are we ready to move on?
Sorry.
Okay, no, it's okay. Item number 16, discussion and possible action to adopt a policy regarding extra duty contracts.
We voted to table this, that's why it's on the agenda, but I think this will need to wait for negotiations, I think.
Yeah, that's what Dr. Hodges recommended. He said it needs to be a negotiated item.
When do you need from us, and how best for the board? You don't want to know what individual members.
Right, it needs to be something
It
that's
needs to
discussed
be-
as a group, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I
So-
thought about that after we talked the other day, that we need to figure out a way, if there's something that the board as a whole wants to include in negotiation, that we bring that up. Usually we do that toward the middle or latter part of June, so I would think that maybe by the next board meeting, that any items that we want to approve for inclusion in that.
Okay. Item number 17, proposed executive session to discuss the employment of those certified and/or non-certified personnel listed in Agenda Item 20 pursuant to 25 Oklahoma Statute Section 307B1 and the discussion of the appraisal of real property pursuant to Title 25 Oklahoma Statute Section 307B3. Yep, okay. We will then continue down to item number 21. Consider and take necessary action on superintendent's recommendation to hire the following employees. 1, Denise Dean, temporary contract. 2, Cade Davis, adjunct baseball coach. 3, Kenneth Crawford, ISD monitor.
I want to make a motion that we take necessary action on superintendent's recommendation to hire the following employees listed in item 21.
Miss Dean, is she a student teacher?
She was.
I've
yeah.
heard lots of good things about her.
Yes, yeah, I think she's doing a really nice job.
I'll second.
And she's not kin to David Dean.
Not
Not that we know of.
You
anyway.
recommend us.
Mickey
Okay.
Upton,
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Amy Colclaser.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes. Item number 22, new business.
Yes, we just received a resignation from Regina Olson. She thanks the board for the opportunity to work for Seminole Schools, and she's going to pursue a career in nursing.
Wow. Well, you need to, congratulations, Regina. We'll miss her, but my gosh, that's a very honorable and admirable
Done it.
occupation.
It is. She's done a
Should
nice
be
job
good
for us.
one.
We'll miss her.
That's right. So,
I move we accept the resignation of Regina Olson at the end of the school year,
Yes.
effective the end of the school year.
have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mickey Upton,
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Amy Colclaser.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Item number 23, adjourn. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Amy Colclaser.
Yes.
Kay Levy.
Yes.
Claudia Willis.
Yes.
Jack Cadenhead.
Yes.
Mickey Upton.
Yes.
Guys.